Hello again and welcome to another lesson from Study English Anywhere. Today's lesson is about comparatives and superlatives. And today we are going to concentrate on when we use the adjectives for this reason. Okay, so let's start off with the reasons why we use comparatives and superlatives. The reasons why, we'll start with the comparatives, is to compare between two things or two people. So we are comparing, not comparing. We are comparing two things or more. Let's start again. Crap, Michael. Hello everybody and welcome back to another lesson from Study English Anywhere. I'm your teacher as always, Michael, and today's lesson is about comparatives and superlatives. Comparatives and superlatives. And the reason why we are going to look at them today, no you fuck. Okay. Good afternoon. Fuck off, it's not afternoon. Hello everybody and welcome to another lesson from Study English Anywhere. My name is Michael and I am your teacher as always. Today's lesson is all about comparatives and superlatives. And we are going to look at using adjectives for this reason. Let's start with the reason why. Why do we use comparatives? Why do we use superlatives? Well, let's start off with comparatives. The reason why we want to use this is to compare. Simply as that. We want to compare two or more things or two or more people. Okay? So we are comparing things or people. The superlative is similar but slightly different. The superlative thing, or the superlative person, is the top. There is no higher. Okay? It is the maximum for this group. And that's why we use the superlative. The superlative is to say that this is more than anybody or more than anything else. More than anybody or anything else. And just so we're not confused, comparatives, this is comparatives, this is superlatives. So we are going to look at this in a slightly different way to usual. We're going to put a table up, okay? So we're going to put the normal verb here, the normal adjective here, the comparative, and then the superlative. And we will go through the rules in this way. So, I'm going to list a number of verbs for you. Okay, we're going to start with, change my colour of my pen. We're going to start with old. Okay, old, fat, happy, patient, all of these are adjectives, beautiful, and we'll end with bad, good, and fun. Okay, now in this part you will see the comparative. Yeah, that was right, comparative. And in this part you will see the superlative. Okay, so how do we change them? Well, old, it actually becomes older. Why? Well, old has one syllable, just one sound, old. Okay, so if you have one syllable, you add ER. One syllable adds ER, okay? If you have fat, yes, that's one syllable. However, something slightly different. Fat becomes fatter. TER. Why? Well, yes, it's one syllable, but if there is a vowel and a consonant, like A and T, at the end, you must add an extra one of the consonants. So you double the consonants. If there is a vowel, then a consonant. So let's just write that. So vowel plus consonant together at the end. That equals, you double the consonant, double consonant, yeah, and add ER, plus ER. Now I understand this is a little bit complicated, so let me explain it again. This word has one syllable, fat. However, the difference between old and fat is that old has two consonants, L and D. Remember, a vowel is A, E, I, O, U. These are the vowels. So the last two letters here are consonant L, consonant D. However, here, the last two letters are vowel A and consonant T. So, because of this, vowel and consonant together at the end, you must double the consonant. So fat becomes fatter. So you add an extra T and ER. Okay? Let me give you another example, just to make sure. Instead of fat, how about big? Well, big has the same rule. It has a vowel and then a consonant. So for that reason, big will become, what do you think? It will become big plus double consonant, G, E, R. Okay? That's the reason why. We add an extra one. Okay? Bigger. What about happy? Well, happy becomes happier. We have added IER. Why? Well, happy has two syllables, but it ends in Y. Okay, so two syllables ends in Y. Well, what happens? You get rid of the Y and add IER. So it becomes happier. Okay? Happy, happier. The next one, patient. Patient becomes more patient. Well, again, why is that? Patient, two syllables. Like happy, but one difference. Happy ends in Y, patient does not end in Y. Any syllables, any adjective that has two syllables that doesn't end in Y, you just add ER. Sorry, you just add more. Okay? More patient. Beautiful. Beautiful. 3 syllables. If it's 3 syllables or more, 3 syllables or more, you just add more. So beautiful, more beautiful. Intelligent, more intelligent. Okay? Patient, more patient. Let's go with another one. Annoyed, more annoyed. Happy, happier. Angry, angrier. Big, bigger. Fat, fatter. Old, older, just ER. Tall, taller, just ER. Okay? Now what about these at the bottom? Well, these are not following any rules. These guys are irregular. Okay? And if they're irregular, they don't follow the rules. So they become, well, whatever they want to become. So bad doesn't become badder, it becomes worse. Bad becomes worse. Good doesn't become gooder, it becomes better. And fun doesn't become funner, even though it should, because if you follow the rules, it doesn't. It just becomes more fun. There are a few more irregular adjectives like this. I will have another lesson. You will find it in the website that will cover all of the irregular adjectives. Okay, but for now, the comparative rules. Comparatives, we are comparing things or people. Old, older. Big becomes bigger. Double G because there is a vowel and a consonant together at the end. There is no double G here because, or no double D here, because it is one syllable, yes, but there is no vowel next to it. So old becomes just add ER, older. Big, add an extra consonant at the end and ER. Happy, cancel the Y, add IER because it has two syllables and it ends in Y. Patient, well, patient is two syllables, that's correct, but it doesn't have Y at the end, so it becomes more. More patient, not patienter. Beautiful, it has three syllables. Three syllables or more, you just add more. Beautiful becomes more beautiful. Bad, good and fun, well, they are irregular. So, these change slightly. Bad becomes worse, good becomes better, and fun becomes more fun. These are the comparative rules when it comes to writing sentences using adjectives in the comparative. I said writing sentences, so why don't we have an example of writing a sentence? I'm just going to rub these out at the top. Let's compare two countries. Let's compare England with Brazil. Okay? So let's have Brazil here and England over there. Okay, so Brazil is England. So we know how to use the verbs, the adjectives. We know how to change the adjectives. So how do we put it in a sentence? Well, let's think. We can use big because Brazil, very big, England, small. Brazil is bigger. Brazil is bigger England? Not quite true, no. We have to use something extra after here. And we use than. So in this rule, Brazil is bigger than England. You need comparative. Excuse me, I'll use red here because red is better. Comparative plus than. Brazil is bigger than England. Okay? So, comparative plus than, we can use these comparatives. Let's have another one. Bigger, it's very hot in Brazil. So, Brazil is, let's go with hotter than England. Brazil is hotter. Hotter is like big. H-O-T, vowel consonant, so we add an extra T. Brazil is hotter than England. We have the comparative between Brazil and England. However, there is another way we can do it. What about if we want to go to use a negative? Okay? If we want to use a negative, then let's try this. England, let's say, is older than Brazil. This is true. Brazil is a newer country than England. So, pay attention here. If we want to use the negative, we do not have to use this. Follow closely. Brazil is not as old as England. Brazil is not as old as England. The important thing is you've got not plus as plus normal adjective plus as again. We don't use this in the negative. We're only using this in the positive. Brazil is not as old as England. Okay? Brazil is not as old as England. We must use this as twice. Okay? Something that lots of people forget is the second as. Or maybe even the first as. We don't want to do that. We can use the comparative like this. Brazil is bigger than England. Brazil is hotter than England. But if we want to use a negative comparison, then Brazil is not as, and in this case old, not as old as England. We could add more adjectives. Brazil is not as cold as England. Brazil is not as small as England. Okay? Brazil is not as expensive as England. Meaning that England is up there for this, Brazil is here. But on the other side, Brazil is hotter than England. Brazil is there, England is here. Brazil is newer than England. It's there compared to England here. Brazil is cheaper than England. Brazil, cheap. England, not cheap. Okay? So these we can use it in the positive and the negative. That's how we can use the comparatives in this order. I would like you to try to make your own comparatives comparing England and Brazil. Okay? Brazil is, or England is, and then you can have the comparative, or you can have not as adjective as the other place. Okay? So, Brazil is not as old as England. Brazil is not as old as England. This is true. Brazil is bigger than England. This is true. Okay? We can't really use these two to describe countries. So let's try this. You decide. Maybe if you are Brazilian, you say Brazil is more beautiful. Let's write that in. More beautiful than England. Maybe you say this because you are Brazilian. Brazil is more beautiful than England. But because I am English and I love England, I will use it the other way. I will say Brazil is not as beautiful as England. That is my opinion. What's your opinion? Is your opinion the top one, or is your opinion the bottom one? This is how we use the comparatives in this way. Okay? So we've got it in the positive. Brazil is more beautiful than. We've got it in the negative. Brazil is not as beautiful as England. But what if they are the same? What if they're the same? They are not bigger, they are not smaller, they are not hotter, they are not colder. Well, we have something quite similar, almost the same. Brazil is as beautiful as. Brazil is as beautiful as. And that means they are the same. More beautiful, not as beautiful as. Okay? And those are how we use the comparatives with adjectives. The second part of this lesson will be discussing the superlatives But right now I think you need a little break. So we will end this lesson here to talk about the comparatives using adjectives. Thank you very much. See you for the second part.